Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer, the Switch 2. Oh man, all this hype on the internet, right? This is how you know you're getting old. Everybody's hyped, and you don't care. Let me tell you something, guys. For me, the Switch 2 has been the most underwhelming release from Nintendo that I have ever experienced for myself, right? I know a lot of people out there are excited about this. You know, when I talk to my other Gen Xer friends, that they're probably in the same frame of mind as I am. The ones that are Nintendo freaks, they went up and bought it the first day. Full disclosure, bought it as gifts for family members, but not for myself. There isn't anything here that I need, right? You tell me, right? What is the must-have game? I'm not impressed by the new Donkey Kong game, right? I mean, for me, everything after Mario 64, everything just went downhill, right? But no, I mean, there isn't any must-have games that I need to spend this kind of money for, right? When it's all said and done, if you really think about it, if let's say you buy 5 games a year, 6 games a year, and you buy the console and you get the peripherals and the controller, I mean, you're at $1,000, if not pretty close to it. And for that kind of money, I need to see more. You could see the leap from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5, sort of, technology wise, not the games. And over here, you have games in the library, but the hardware isn't that impressive to make a leap in cost. This great. I mean, it just isn't there. This should be the Switch Pro 2 or something, or just the Switch Pro. It really isn't that much improvement that I can see. Now, if there was a game that I need to have, like, oh my gosh, I need to play this game, maybe Metroid, but the more I learn about this console and the system and the way Nintendo's doing business, the less I want it. When it comes to the key cards, what's the point of physical media? I'm better off with a Steam Deck. Provides more value, and it's a better console, right? $80 games for games that are not even that are not even on the cartridge. To me, let me tell you something. As in full disclosure, again, I own Nintendo stock. As an investor, this is a welcome sign of the way they're doing business, bringing on Bowser. I believe he comes from EA, or people from EA are there. It's a more profit-driven company, which is good for the bottom line of the company, right? But that's not the way Nintendo was, right? Nintendo was not about that. Remember, Nintendo at first, was putting out the consoles, even if people didn't buy them, they were willing to take them back because they believed in their product. They weren't the company of microtransactions, which is the business model that they're gearing towards to be, right? That's where they're going. That's where everybody goes, profit. It's just the nature of evolution of business. The investor in me would say, this is a great pivot. We're going to be a lot more profitable, yada, yada, yada. As a collector of physical games and a fan of retro games, this is highly disappointing because it goes against the core beliefs of the company that I supported way back in '87. It just, and to me, saying this, doesn't, I get no pleasure in it. I really don't, because I appreciate Nintendo. I've bought every single thing that they've ever put out. I think the only thing that I haven't owned is the Virtual Boy and the Famicom. That's it. Everything else I've owned multiples of, right? Multiples of. I just went back and restored my NES, right? The one that got stolen, I replaced it. But this offering here, it's just disappointing to me. If I have to be honest, I don't see the leaps in technology that they had made before. I don't see the games, the list of games that you saw before, and even if before, I'll give an example, the Nintendo 64, didn't come out with a lot of games, but the one game that you had to have was Mario 64. That's the reason you were buying that system. Right? You saw I was hyped up. Probably the console that I've been most hyped up for as far as Nintendo was the Super Nintendo, and I couldn't even afford it when it came out. I didn't have the means. I was poor. Right? I was poor and I had no means to buy it. But man, I loved everything about the system. Still do. I still own it. I still have my original one sitting here. Right? And I was really excited for those because there were leaps and bounds. Super Nintendo's is leaps and bounds ahead of the NES. You could see the marker there. But I mean, can you say the same thing about the Switch 2 to the Switch? You can't. You can't. But it doesn't matter what I think because this thing is selling like hotcakes. They're making money. Right? That's how I know I'm getting old, right? When what you like is no longer popular in the market, what you like no longer is what's profitable in the market because there just isn't enough people with your opinion, then that's it. And like I said, I've always been a fan of Nintendo. I'm not a Nintendo hater, but I haven't touched my Switch in the last 2 months. I've been playing my PlayStation because I've been playing Death Stranding. But here we are, and I didn't get the Super Nintendo on launch because I didn't have the money, but I wanted it every single day until I got it. And this system right here, would I buy it? Maybe if I got a good deal, used. If I had a couple of $100 off, $100 off or something, with some games, if it was something I couldn't resist because it was too good of a value, maybe. But not really. I'm not going to go out and seek it. You know what I'm saying? I have enough. I'm about to go travel. And I'm just taking my regular Switch. I'm not even taking the Steam Deck because, I don't want to damage it. I don't want to take care of that many things, and I'm going to be hopping around from island to island. So I just want to be careful. And I'm just going to take the Switch and play the Switch, and that's it. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, and that's the sad part. I think that's the difference for me. Right? Every other time that I didn't own the Nintendo console, even with the Wii U, if I didn't own it, I felt like I was missing out on something. On some new technology, on games that I couldn't play on the new Nintendo system. And here I don't. I mean, the Donkey Kong game, the latest came out, it doesn't do it for me. More Mario Kart? Is that, no, not really. I don't think so. It's just, I'm waiting for something else to come out, and I hope it does. For the sake of Nintendo, I hope something else comes out. But the things I want to come out are no longer popular, right? Like, I would really love a remake of the original Donkey Kong. Can you imagine that in 3D? That would be amazing. Go back in time. Like, they're doing so many other remakes in other companies. Why don't they do that? But, times they are changing. And I guess I'm just old. I'm a gamer in my 50s. So, I'm not I'm not with it anymore. I don't know what's cool anymore. So I'm just sitting here with my retro games. I got plenty of games to play, but I, and this is not to get everybody down, but I'm disappointed. I just don't see it here. And I wish Nintendo would do a better job. Like if this was a console, right? If the Nintendo Switch 2 was just a console, if they had an option for just a console, that'd be great, but they're not going to do that. Those times are never coming back. I mean, if you want to tell me that the Nintendo Switch 2 in this environment is better than what we had, the 3DS and multiple consoles out there, was that better? When you had a separate handheld with its games, and then you had a console with its games, I think I like those times better. I really do. The GameCube times, with the Game Boy, or the 3DS times with the Wii and the Wii U, were better times for me, even if the company was not as profitable. Now the company is more profitable than they have ever been. But the gaming experience doesn't do it for me right now. And that, for me, is really hard to say. All right, humans, that's my opinion. You guys tell me what you feel. I mean, are you going to spend $1,000 a year on this as opposed to the Switch? I don't know, man. This $80 per game, key cards, everything else, the microtransactions, I think it's a bit much for me from the company that I didn't expect it from. All right, humans, I will catch you on the next one. Take care.